Welcome back to the Building Wealth from Scratch podcast. We are your hosts, Jerry and Bianca. And before we get started, Bianca, do you want to share any thoughts or comments?
The following is for informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Please consult a professional before making any financial decisions. For your reference, our full disclaimer will be displayed at the end of the episode.
Yeah, this past weekend I am so tired. I stayed up so late to watch Coachella. I was really looking forward to Justin Bieber's performance and Karol G's performance, and it did not disappoint. I was in bed already because it's past my bedtime, and I feel like I think a lot of millennials, like, you're just watching from your little phone these concerts. And honestly, I don't even put it on my big TV in my bedroom because my dog gets upset because the light is just too bright. He'll come and complain and he'll just like not be okay with it. So I'll watch it from my
You'll
little.
even leave.
Yeah, he'll leave the
Yeah.
bedroom. It's very funny. He's just very.
And then he'll come back once he hears that the TV was turned off.
Yeah, so he just makes me feel so guilty. So anyway, so I'm watching like the performance from my itty bitty phone, just like here. It was so much fun watching the Justin Bieber performance. Really spoke to me just because knowing a lot more about what he went through, just being in Hollywood, being ostracized by Hollywood, just being broken down and just seeing himself build himself up again. It's just incredible, and seeing like directly how healed he looked, so happy on stage. He showed up authentically as himself. He wasn't there to perform and show up as whatever everybody else wanted him to be. He was just being himself. And I think that's highly admirable. I think that's where we're heading, where we want the transparency and the rawness because, especially with AI, everything is just so over.
Hey,
uh, yeah, it's fake. It's all very filtered, and so I think which is very different now, like, growing up, the ones who had the very filtered life were the ones getting the most attention in the internet, and now it's the complete opposite. It's the people who are being very vulnerable, and I think it's, like, the perfect time for even our journey because I just am someone who is just, like, loves to share just like the honest truth of like what's happening because it just doesn't sit well to me to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. And so I think that performance really stood out to me because of that, because I am in this journey as well where I I'm shedding and letting go a lot of the beliefs that I had growing up that I had of how I need to show up and because of society, what society dumps on us, and I am choosing how I want to show up in every area of my life, and especially when it comes to money, when it comes to building wealth, because there's going to be a lot of noise of what your life should look like, at what point you should be saving X amount. And I remember a really good friend asked me, like, how much should I have in my 401k by now? And I think maybe a couple years ago, I would have had yeah, you should have about this much, your fire number. And so now when I look at, when someone asks me that question, I ask, like, what are your values? What is it that you want to achieve? Because it all derives from there. It all stems from that. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. I just wanted to share that this performance really stood out to me. And yeah, and I did a little clip of sharing just about how his performance.
Bianca's not being totally transparent with that part. Her reel went viral. I
um,
think it has like over 14,000 likes already. So it's a pretty big deal. I tell her so many times, but she needs to hear it from you guys. But her creativity is amazing. And the way she expresses herself with the content that we put out is just admirable. And I think that reel was a testament to what she can do and what she has been focusing on. And her creative side is slowly but surely coming out, and we're starting to reap the rewards, especially those people that resonated with that reel. and it's gone viral on Instagram.
Yeah, I could just feel it in my chest when I was like seeing him perform those songs with you, Chris Brown, and So Sick, Neo. We were the same age. Those are the songs that I was singing. I was like growing up in the seventh and eighth grade. Those are the moments that came up, and I was just like so emotional because I was like, damn, like that doesn't feel like so long ago. But I was like, wow, like this is it just unlocked a beautiful moment of growing up millennial and I forgot about all of that. And just like him being on YouTube and and just having fun with the audience, I had a blast. And so that's why I was like, this is for the millennials at home because I don't go to festivals anymore. And I was just like, this was definitely for me. I think to be impacted like that through a screen, it just takes a lot of creativity. And so that's what I felt. And so I wanted to share that. And yeah, the video went viral and now I'm like, okay, now I'm just ready to continue sharing just more of our money story, more of healing with money and just a lot of different things that comes with building wealth as a millennial, as a first gen. And so I was very excited and yeah, I yeah, very cool weekend for sure. One for the books.
Well, that's good. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that ties into today's topic, you know, growing up millennial and really being authentic. I think that's really what happened this weekend was that the artists were very authentic and you felt that even through the screen. And so that's what really the topics that we pick are to do just that, to be authentic and to really highlight that most people, you're not alone. Let's be honest. Growing up a millennial, we've had so much chaos and confusion our whole lives. We've gone through ups and downs, many wars, just to name a few chaoses, and yet we're expected to do so much, right? Because especially as first gen, we're the first to go to college, we're the first to get a corporate job, we're the first to do all these things, but yet life is just blocking us every step of the way. At least it feels like that, right? Now it's almost impossible to buy a house, even if you're earning great money, and it's very demoralizing. And so that's what we want to bring to the table is to show you that no, it's still possible, but now we have to be even more strategic and more precise with what we do because the odds are not in our favor anymore. And so that's why today's topic is really hits home because it's that point in your life and in this stage of yeah, I guess in this stage of life that you weren't taught anything about money. You don't really know a whole lot about managing it. But now you're confused because now you're also investing. Now you have to deal with taxes. And then most importantly, now you're dealing with, you know, some equity compensation, either RSUs, ISOs, whatever it is. And so now you're the first in your family to go through this. Now you're trying to navigate all of this on your own. And it gets pretty complex pretty quickly, especially with all the negativity and all the forces against you right now. And so that's why we wanted to start this week with that topic to really shine some light on it and really explore why people feel this way and why these topics are so important to understand that you're not alone, but also that there is a way out.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially figuring it out for the first time and also things look a lot different than our parents' generation. And so now you're looking for that mentorship and trying to understand like what actually applies to you. And just to tie this back to growing up with YouTube, and now a lot of us are sometimes looking at YouTube and looking up things and just trying to feel like, how does this apply to me? And especially when there's just so much information out there, it can become very overwhelming. I think growing up, it was like the lack of information because we would have to actually look things up. Like I remember the encyclopedia, Wikipedia, like that was like how we got information, at least for millennials. And so now through YouTube, through social media, you're
Mhm.
really wondering what really applies, what's true, what's not. And I think both of us on our money journey, on our wealth building journey, we were trying to figure that out. As we said before, we've gone through the life insurance industry, the day trading, and also wealth management. And so I think now through that experience, we actually know what's actually missing. Now that's why we built this company, because we're like, this is what's missing for millennials. We need more guidance and strategies that work for us, because we want to make sure that we are building wealth that feels aligned to what we want to go after. I think that
Right.
that's a big part of our mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, talking on day trading and things like that, I think this last correction that we just had really highlighted how little control we have as individuals. Because now, when you talk about day trading, now you're not just competing with the big corporations. Obviously, they're always the ones that control the market. That's the reason why the SEC only allows them to trade a certain amount of assets per day, because they can actually fluctuate the market. But now you're actually going against computers.
Mm.
And that's what most people don't understand. Now the trades are happening in fractions of a second, versus for us, it still takes minutes, even if you're really good at it. And so now you are competing with robots, and that's a lot harder to do when you're trying to make money, especially when the flow of society and the money supply and all of those things are really out of our control. And so I just wanted to highlight that we're venturing into new territory. Now, obviously, electronic trades have been happening for the last 20 years, but now with AI, it's happening even faster. And and that's why I'm like, if you like the thrill of day trading, you should do it for fun. It shouldn't be because you want to retire earlier, because you want to do all these other things, because the odds are just stacked against you now. It's like the casino,
Mm.
and I don't like those odds. I like to have odds that are more in my favor, and I can control the things that I can control. And with that, it's just getting so hard to really get ahead. And I think it takes people a few years really to get the hang out of things, but then you also have to adjust because now the playing ground is changing.
Yeah. I don't think I even realized that. I mean, I think I've known about electronic trades, but it just clicked right now when you just said it. That especially because there's like AI bots, right? That you can pretty much set up to automatically make the trades. Like I learned that through my information systems class recently. But just like learning about it and seeing like how you can actually set it up, I was like, whoa, that's insane. This is different new territory, definitely. I agree.
And and this is just the market that we think of, like the New York Stock Exchange, Chicago Board. Nobody even talks about the over the counter trades. Those are the ones that are done in the back door. And that's where I'm like, okay, we as individuals, we can't control that, because those are the big mega corporations, the mega banks. They're the ones doing all those. The private equity funds, they're the ones that are doing all these fantastic trades for themselves, versus us, we're stuck with the vanilla stock market. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that trying to time the market, trying to get ahead of it, the odds are not in your favor.
It's going to be really hard. It's definitely a needle in a haystack for sure.
And I know that that's the confusing part, because we've been told that we can do all this ourselves, we can, manage our own money, and that's great. I think you can to a certain degree, but I think you also have to learn and adapt with the changing times, because the same strategies, like again, that we were used to 10 years ago no longer exist. It's evolving so fast, and if you're not willing to change or to adapt with it, you're going to get left behind and you're going to lose a ton of money.
Yeah, I think I'm always like trying to be very inviting to the idea of doing it yourself when it comes to investing when you're starting out, when you don't really know much. And if it's like something that you're willing to do and willing to learn, like you're genuinely interested in doing that, then go for it. Like definitely I encourage it. We need more people in like learning about this, especially millennials and first gen. But What I realized too is that there's not enough being talked about. Like the to-do list is already long. And so now you're piling on more things. And I think that's what it's not talked about.
Yeah.
And if you value like your time, then it's okay to outsource that help.
It's like you have a lawn and you like to cut your own grass, go for it. But if you value your time to do other things, then you obviously outsource that. You hire somebody to come do it for you. It's the same thing.
Yeah, no one really, I think, expresses that. If you're not on top of it, it's just going to keep pushing out the timeline of your goals. And so I think a big thing that we always talk about is that we never start with the strategy. We always start with the clarity of what exactly are your values and what is it that you're trying to achieve. Because, like I mentioned earlier with my friend, like, where should I be now? Should I be investing in a Roth or IRA? And I don't know if you've been following us for a while. We rarely talk about if a Roth is better than an IRA, than a simple IRA. And the reason is because you can go on YouTube and Google and you'll have a ton of information. What's not talked about is like what is important to you? What are your values? What exactly is it that you want to achieve? Because if your dream is to launch your own business one day, then that's what we should be focusing on instead of just trying to chase a number on a retirement account. Before, I was chasing a number, I was chasing the income, I was chasing, like, I need to get to a six-figure salary, I need to chase a certain number on my bank account, on my investments. Now I am more focused on my values because I burned out quickly. Not it was just not sustainable because it was seeping into other areas of my life where I was like, I am just so tired. I'm burned out. Like, when is this going to be over? I'm tired of like showing up to somewhere that doesn't feel aligned to me. And yes, we're saving, we're saving. We have this big, beautiful house, but it's somehow it just doesn't feel like it's filling my cup. Jerry is like, remember your values. What are your values? What fills your cup? And for me, it's impacting others. And so I think that's the work I'm doing now. And so I think when you start really thinking about your values, it's going to make it a lot easier to build wealth because now you have purpose behind building that wealth. And so I think that's why I'm very passionate about sharing this more because it can become very easy to chase the number and then all of a sudden get there and just be like, this means nothing to me because that's what happened. Jerry, do you have a similar experience of that?
Yeah, I think, and again, my philosophy is that money is just a tool. It's what you do with it that matters. And that's really said in a different way, I believe. I think it's the same thing. I remember hearing that, oh, money makes you a bad person. No, I think money just highlights who you are. But you were already a bad person before you had money. That's just my opinion. And that's why I only bring on clients that I know I can align to with my values, that they value others, other things more than themselves, more than just chasing a dollar amount. I always tell potential clients that I know, hey, I'm not your money guy. I'm here to make an impact in your life. I'm here to make sure that you live your life with purpose and that we're building wealth intentionally for the reasons that really matter to us. If you don't want that, I'm not your guy. You can go find another advisor that's going to just take on your money and just invest it for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to align myself with clients that have similar views of life as I do. And and I think it goes back to that because it's just a tool. Money is just a tool. It's what you do with it that matters.
Yeah. It's definitely something that we intentionally work towards of bringing up because I was starting to feel guilty during the time that we bought a house. Oh, renting is the new thing. There's always going to be like trends and culture and society telling you different things of what you should be doing or where you should be. But you have to go back to your values because that's what's going to keep you grounded. And I think that's a great thing that you do with clients, Jerry, where you're like taking them back to like this is what's important. Remember, we talked about this. And we all need that. I need that constantly because sometimes I'm just like the brain of a goldfish where it's just like, oh, I forgot, especially when everything is just like these things are just like spamming me, being on social media, that quick endorphin rush. So, can you share where you've helped a client realign themselves with their values when it comes to building wealth?
Yeah, I think that's every client, because every client comes to me with an issue. Like, oh, I want to save for retirement, I want to buy a house, I want to do all these things. That's the surface level issue that they're really facing. But it's really time to get deep down inside and figure out, well, why? Why is that what you want? Why you think that's the main issue? And then as we dive down, we start realizing like, oh wait, actually no. There's probably a little bit of trauma with money growing up. There's a little bit of family issues, the one that's being counted on and relied on so much that you don't even know where to prioritize your money. And it just keeps diving down from there. And that's what I want to do. I want to find the root cause and really find the root issue of why you're talking to me. Because the only way that I can really help you is if I fully understand your situation. And so to answer your question, it's really every client, because they come to me with one issue, but then they realize, oh, actually, it's not about retirement. It was because I was arguing with my spouse every day about money. And so I think by aligning your values, your money to your values, we start alleviating a lot of the deep underground pain that don't really come up so often, but that they're there. And we're subconsciously making decisions because of them. So I would say the goal is to impact every client. And if I can't impact every client like that, I don't bring them on, because I can't justify my value.
Yeah, that's very true. What you just mentioned, because these are real problems that we're facing, like growing up. At least for me, I saw my parents argue about money. So now it's like it's seeping into my marriage. And how is it that I can work together with someone? And and then it's also like I thought this is what I wanted out of a career. And then all of a sudden realizing this is actually not what I want. This is what society told me would make me happy.
Right.
And there's just different examples like what you shared, especially being the first gen, like you're being looked up to. It's like, yeah, you're the one who's supposed to make it, the one who's supposed to be an example for us. That's a
Mhm.
lot of pressure to carry as a
Oh
person.
yeah, it is.
And we were talking about just like what is it that like we bring to the table? Because there's a lot of financial advisors, there's a lot of online content creators about money and all of these different things. Now that we've been in business for 2 years, I think we're realizing like we're the calm in the chaos. So, we're here to really ground you back to what is your purpose. Because once you do that, and that's what we mean by values. Once you're really grounded on what your purpose and your value is, oh, it just makes it so much easier to build wealth
Mhm.
versus just trying to
Yeah,
um,
chase a number.
chase a number exactly. And so I think this is a great way to conclude today's episode, unless you wanted to add anything else, Jerry.
No, I think, yeah, that's what we do, and that's actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, but that's actually why I put that in the website, is build wealth with purpose,
Mm,
because we do a lot of things without any end goal or purpose in mind, really. We just think this is what we have to be doing, so I had to do it. But once we shift that mindset and we really start intentionally building wealth, it makes things much easier. It makes life easier, it makes situations easier, and it brings that calmness, that peace, and that, to in my opinion, the ultimate freedom, ultimate financial freedom.
yeah. Yeah, financial freedom isn't a number, it's a purpose.
Exactly.
Strongly believe that now.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, I think with that, we'll end today's podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you next week. Bye.
Confianza Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor in the state of California. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Confianza Wealth Management and its representatives are properly registered or exempt from registration. This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute individualized advice or a guarantee that you will achieve a desired result. You should consult with an appropriate tax and/or financial advisor for advice specific to your situation. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the host/interviewee on the date of the program and are subject to change. Presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussion should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell the investments mentioned. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Investments involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment or strategy will be suitable or profitable for a client's portfolio. All investment strategies can result in profit or loss.